Hey everyone, it's Rich Tola, and thanks for tuning in to Tola Talks, my 21st century talk for a no bullshit world. Because who doesn't want to believe that anything is possible, even when the experts say it isn't? Well, today's Movie Monday, and I went to see The Theory of Everything yesterday. We're going to be talking about that today because anything is possible, and you'll learn why. It's also Cyber Monday for those of you who are doing your shopping for the holidays, right? We're getting ready for the 25 days leading up to Christmas. So if you did shop over the weekend, take a look. Numbers were down. 5% less people shopped this weekend, Black Friday and the whole weekend, than did last year. As well, 11% of sales, well, there was a drop in sales by 11%. So what's going on, guys? You got to get your shopping in there, right? You got to help the local retailers. Well, you got today. Today's Cyber Monday, so get back on it, get back online and start shopping, get some good deals out there. And for those of you who took the weekend off when it comes to working out, got to work out, you got to get back in the gym. You know, this morning there was a couple of regulars looking a little haggard. I think they missed the whole weekend. So, it's tough getting back, but you got to get back. This is a great time. These next 3 weeks, stay focused, guys. You got to stay with it. Let's move right into the celebrity birthday shout-outs, right? I like this first one a lot. Sarah Silverman. She's 44 today. All right, everybody knows her. Stand-up comedian, writer, actress. I mean, she's everything. And in 2008, you guys know she appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live. I love Jimmy Kimmel, who was her boyfriend at the time. And I don't know if you remember this, but she made a video, like a mock video with Matt Damon, said, I am effing, try not to use that F-bomb on this show. I'm effing Matt Damon. So she sang that song. She did a duet with Matt Damon. Pretty cool. And she became an instant YouTube sensation. Now, in response, Jimmy went ahead and made a video with Ben Affleck saying, I'm effing Ben Affleck. So, I don't know, pretty cool stuff. What I really like about her is her self-deprecating style. She wrote a memoir, autobiography actually, in 2010 called The Bedwetter, because she was a bedwetter as a kid. So, hey, happy birthday, Sarah Silverman. Love you. And who else? Bette Midler. Everybody knows Bette from The Rose. Remember The Rose? That was her first, or her debut as an actress in 1979. Motion picture debut for Bette. She's 69 today. Yeah, happy birthday. She's from Honolulu, Hawaii, which I spent a couple months there myself. Awesome singer, actress, songwriter, all the above, right? Remember, I like a lot of her movies. Well, everyone remembers Beaches. I mean, talk about a tearjerker. That's one of the greatest tearjerkers of all time from 1980. But she also was in Down and Out in Beverly Hills, remember? In 1986, she made 2 films, Ruthless People. And she also made For the Boys in 91. And most recently, she got in a little Twitter tiff with Ariana Grande, right? Responding to her about, hey, where'd that sexy mermaid go? So happy birthday, Bette. All the best to you. Continue to keep doing your thing. Here's a rest in peace shout out birthday. One of the funniest guys of all time. Jerry Seinfeld called him the Picasso of our profession. Who are we talking about? Richard Pryor. Richard, he set himself on fire, actually tried to commit suicide June 9th, 1980, while he doused himself with 151 rum. Everybody knows that, 151 proof. He was freebasing cocaine. Kind of blew himself up running down the street, but he did admit to trying to commit suicide. He's had an interesting beginning. He was born, his mom, his grandmother actually ran a brothel. So he was raised in a brothel. His mother worked there as a prostitute, and she abandoned him at the age of 10. He also says he was sexually abused at the age of 7. Kind of crazy upbringing, and lived in this. His father was a boxer, a hustler, so nobody was around to raise him other than the grandmother who said she used to beat him. He used to talk about that in all his skits. I mean, he's been around since 1963, year I was born. He had major performance anxiety. Talk about anything's possible. He had major performance anxiety every time he went on stage. Could barely do it, but he got through it. Made some great movies. Remember Blazing Saddles? Remember he did a lot with Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder. Blazing Saddles and Silver Streak. Remember that, and Car Wash. I mean, some great ones back in the 70s. I mean, 70s and 80s. And love Richard Pryor. He died at the age of 65. Died of a heart attack. He would have been 64 today, so rest in peace, Richard Pryor. Who else? Our last birthday shout out goes to Woody Allen. Everybody knows Woody Allen. Talk about 65. Well, in 1965, he was on the Merv Griffin show. I mean, he's been around, over 5 decades, 50 plus years. He's made over 40 films, 4 Oscars. I mean, most recently, I remember Midnight in Paris. I love that, with Rachel McAdams, Owen Wilson, and Adrian Brody. That was really cool. But I remember Sleeper, 1973. He comes out with the pods. Remember, he woke up. He was this nerdish store owner who woke up out of this cryostasis. It was one of those contraptions that froze your body, and then he had to deal with the government. I mean, he's brilliant. He's been around, like I said, forever. His first TV appearance was in 1960 on the Pat Boone's Chevy showroom. And from there, everybody knows he'd made umpteen films. He was born in the Bronx, and then he also liked younger women, so there's all that whole story, which we won't even get into because, hey, what's wrong with liking younger women? But he's had a storied past with Mia Farrow and all the marriages he's had. So, hey, happy birthday to you. Woody Allen is 79. Cool. Let's talk about some sports real quick, because we do have some sports fans out there. We're going to talk football. Not a major football fan myself, but I do pay attention. It's week 13. Aside from Monday Night Football, Miami's going to be at the New York Jets today. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the leaderboard, right? In the AFC, in the East, New England Patriots are 9 wins, 3 losses. I'll just give you their record. In the AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals are also, they're 8-3. They have 1 tie. AFC South, Indianapolis Colts are 8-4. And in the West, Denver Broncos are 9-3. All right, NFC in the East, the Philadelphia Eagles, way to go, Philly, 9-3. The Green Bay Packers, who are favored to win the Super Bowl, 3-1 odds. New England Patriots are 7-2 odds, and the Denver Broncos are 9-2 odds. Which, speaking of the Broncos, we already said they're running the West here. So how about the Green Bay Packers are in the North? They're 9-3. In the South, Atlanta Falcons are tied with New Orleans Saints, 5-7. What kind of record? I don't know. 5-7 be at top of the board. And in the West, the Arizona Cardinals are 9-3. So there you go. Taking a quick look around, just checking sports for today. Yeah, and on that note, let's take a look at what happened on this day in history. I like to do this. 1835, Hans Christian Andersen. Now, he was actually well known for a playwright. He did travelogues, he did poems, but he's most notable for his fairy tales. First book of fairy tales came out called Fairy Tales. And I remember The Ugly Duckling, where he writes, "It doesn't matter about being born in a duck yard as long as you're hatched from a swan's egg." Right? Anything's possible. How about this? In 1878, on this day in history, the first White House telephone was installed. How about that? In 1887, Sherlock Holmes, one of my favorites. So Sir Arthur, let me get this right. I can't say it. Arthur Conan Doyle. I mean, last Christmas or 2 Christmases ago, you could buy that real thick book for like $15. It's awesome. All Sherlock Holmes. He first appeared in print as a consulting detective in A Study in Scarlet. Go check it out. Great book by Arthur Conan Doyle. There you go. In 1891, you got James Naismith created basketball. How about that? 1903, The Great Train Robbery was the first Western film to be released. Yeah, how about that? In 1929, right, the game of bingo was invented by Edwin S. Lowe. 1955, I don't remember this, but Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a bus to a white person. Black woman refusing to give it up to a white person. Hey, in Montgomery, Alabama, started it all. A lot started from that. Rosa Parks, way to go. Boom. 1976, the Sex Pistols used profanity on TV, and they were called the Rotten Punks from there on out. And in 1982, what happened? Michael Jackson, the white-gloved one, released Thriller, the greatest selling album of all time. There you go, on this day in history. And on that note, let's give out the Get Your Shit Together award. Because, every day we like to give out an award to someone, family, whatever, a bunch of people that just got to get their shit together. Now, we're going to talk about shopping. Because what happens over the weekend? I went shopping over the weekend, and let me just tell you, people can be very disrespectful, can be very rude, okay? So this goes out to all the people out there that are being selfish and rude when it comes to respecting your fellow man, your fellow store owner, and the workers that are working to help you during this busy holiday shopping season. You got to be respectful, people. Can't cut people off in line. Got to pay attention to where you're walking, especially if you have kids. You got to pay attention, right? You got to teach these kids some manners. Kids just like run all over the place. They're bumping into people. It could be dangerous. People be carrying things, knocking you over. Always be respectful. So, if you're the kind of person that doesn't watch where they're going, pay attention, be respectful. Don't be a bozo knocking into people. Again, be respectful of your fellow man. So the Get Your Shit Together award today, which is based on my podcast, everybody knows that. Check it out on my website, richtola.com. You got to get your shit together, people. Pay attention, all right? Watch where you're going and be respectful. On that note, let's go right into it. The theory of everything. Because it is a theory. Well, Stephen Hawking, the renowned astrophysicist, this movie is about him. But it was based on a memoir that his wife Jane wrote. You guys know that. The memoir, let me get that for you. Well, she originally called it, she'd had 3 decades of marriage, called Music to Move the Stars. And then she retitled it, reprinted it in the U.S., called Traveling to Infinity, My Life with Stephen. So here we go. The Theory of Everything. It was released actually on limited release on November 7th. That means it was only in 5 theaters. It did about 200,000 that night, and it's been through 7 film festivals. Pretty popular with the film festivals. At Toronto International was on September 7th. So a few months back, it kind of hit the festival circuit, was released a couple months later, and then again on November 21st in a wider release. And this past weekend, it did 9.6 million. To date, it's done just under 25 million. So pretty good, not outstanding. The users really liked it, 7.8. Now remember, I give it a 1, 2, or 3 thumbs. We're going to come back to that. But what are we talking about? Writer Anthony McCartan and Jane Hawking. She was a big part of the rewrite. You'll see it took them 10 years to get this done. Directed by James Marsh. James Marsh has an Academy Award under his belt. Oscar for Man on Wire. That was a documentary about the Philippe Petit who walked from the World Trade Towers. He crossed it in 1974 illegally, right? They called it the most artistic crime of the century. So that's James's background, no question. Solid director, did a great job, by the way. Again, this was 10 years in the making, okay? This New England screenwriter, Anthony McCartan, had been reading Jane's memoir, right? And he showed up on her doorstep, knocked on her door, and was like, hey, this is who I am, had a background, and he wanted to make a film about it. Well, she declined, and 10 years later, with billions and billions of rewrites, to quote a writer, he says it got made. Who did it get made with? Some unknowns, right? Eddie Redmayne is unknown, 30-year-old guy, 5'11". What's interesting about this is, and if you know about Stephen Hawking, he has the Lou Gehrig's disease, so his body became deformed over time. And, you'll see the film. You'll see all about that. Everybody knows him from the history of black holes as well and his concept of time. But it was produced, the production designer, John Kelly, helped with this 5'11" frame to make him seem smaller and more diminutive. He kept growing the wheelchairs kept getting bigger. And Eddie worked with a dance instructor to kind of mimic the movements of Stephen Hawking. And he said when he first started filming in September of 2013, there was a scene, their first kiss, Eddie and Jane. You'll see that. What a really cool scene. Really glamorous scene. It was pretty spectacular. There's 250 extras and period costumes and elaborate set designs and lightings and fireworks going on. And he said Stephen Hawking, the real Stephen Hawking, visited the set for the first time. And here's a quote. Eddie Redmayne said, "It was dark and beautiful, and then Stephen arrived, silhouetted in his chair. He was spotlit by his screen. You know, he has the computer screen on his wheelchair." And he said, and the fireworks went off, right? He said it was the greatest entrance I had ever seen in my life. Well, pretty cool scene, no question. But what's this film about? It's a love story. First and foremost, and throughout the whole film, it's a love story. No doubt. The mantra, anything is possible, is all about this film. I mean, here's a man, Stephen W. Hawking, who defied logic, who was told in the 1960s that he had 2 years to live. He was going to live 2 years, right? He was going to, boom, all bad stuff was going to happen to him, and then Well, guess what? The guy's 72 years old. He's still living. Talk about, wow, anything is possible. Talk about, forget about what the experts say. Forget about that. He kept going. He just defied logic, right? And he handled his deformity, and he went on to accomplish some great things. But in this film, Felicity Jones, who I loved her. She was awesome. Really beautiful woman. She's been around since 1996. She's strong, beautiful, but tender. I mean, this was a very heartfelt film. Heartfelt from the beginning. It's an intelligent film. And it's not a lot of space mumbo jumbo. It has nothing to do with that. Like, remember Interstellar, we talked about, there's a lot of people didn't like it because they couldn't understand it. There's nothing to not understand here. It's kind of old school, a little bit nostalgic. Brings you back to the 60s at Cambridge. I mean, this takes place in London. It's sexy, but it's not tacky. And it's not sexy in a skin way, right? What we're seeing on the internet. But it's romance. It's like love at first sight. I mean, again, tenderness. It's also about love that endures. But it's also about love that endures, but can be said at the same time. And at the end, well, you'll see his history. I mean, they did eventually get divorced and she remarried. But it says that love can be reborn and reborn in other people as well. So it's a bit sad, but the movie gives you hope. It's all about giving you hope. Hope that anything is possible. Here we go. Especially for anyone with a disability. Okay? A disability doesn't have to be crippling. There's no doubt about that. You can continue to do great things. You don't have to be devastated by it. I mean, this man proved it. I mean, this guy, again, 2 years to live, and now he's currently 72 years old. It's amazing. Very charming, sweet. Talks about endless possibilities. That's what I love about it. There's this endless possibilities with yourself and the world, because it starts to ask these questions. And true love conquers all? Well, yes and no, okay? Marriage is wonderful, but it's not forever. You know, a friend of mine once told me that. He said, marriage is great, but it's temporary. But everything is temporary. We're only here temporarily, right? So you got to go out and do whatever you can, the best you can to achieve whatever it is that you're set on this earth to achieve. Because you start asking those questions, right? You start thinking about this film. What kind of film is this? Why does it get me thinking about, what's this concept of the universe? Time began. I mean, you kind of feel that. You're very engrossed. You're very entertained with this film. It's not predictable, but it is predictable. People get older. He has children. Life goes on, right? But even if you read the memoir, you're still going to enjoy this movie. Again, love. It talks about destiny too. Are we predestined? I mean, do you believe that? Do you believe everything happens for a reason? I mean, I believe that everything we do leads you on a path to somewhere else. I believe that. I mean, this show in particular, right? We're at LA Talk Radio for 60 shows. Now we're on YouTube. Who knows where we're going with it? Hey, but it's fate. I mean, I believe that fate's going to kind of happen to you. And then we also talk about the universe, right? Why are we here? When did it begin? When does it end? I mean, these are all questions that who knows? I mean, we're not going to be alive. Most likely not going to be alive when the universe, if it ever does blow up, who knows? But here's the key. You can't let anybody tell you something that you're going to believe it to be true if they're going to hinder you. Do not let that happen. Don't let it get into your psyche that this is something you can't achieve, because you can achieve it. Set your mind to it. If you're passionate about it and you believe in it and you stick with it, hey, anything is possible. You got to believe that. And are you rewarded? And does God play a part? They kind of delve into that, because Jane believes in God, and Stephen Hawking, he's a physicist, not exactly. But does he come around? Yeah, you got to watch the movie. You got to keep an open mind. And if you don't have an open mind, you could change your mind. He changed his mind. I mean, from his doctorate thesis to where he went further to disprove it. I mean, you got to see this stuff. It's pretty damn cool. And don't put a time limit on anything. I mean, my mother says that all the time. Don't put a time on, because, hey, who's to say when it's supposed to occur? Because if it's your time, it will occur. And what about making sacrifices? Because life is about making sacrifices. And you see this with Jane did in her family, with these children, taking care of him. She did, he did, everybody. You got to make sacrifices, and you got to postpone sometimes the selfish pleasures for the future. But the future does catch up with you. And in her case, she got remarried. Hey, had an awesome life thereafter as well, continues to. So it's a tearjerker through and through. It's a positive film about anything is possible. You're seeing what happens to a man who's got a brilliant mind. The body's affected, but he still plows forward. You got to keep moving forward. Hey, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I gave it 2 thumbs, okay? I was tempting to give it 2.5 thumbs, but I'm giving it 2 thumbs. It's the kind of movie that I want to see again. I want to see again when it comes around, but I really enjoyed it. Go take a look, folks. The Theory of Everything. 2 thumbs from Tola Talks. Well, that's our show for today, folks. Goes quick, I know. So get out there, do your shopping, stay positive, be respectful. Don't be disrespectful to the fellow shoppers and the store owners. And remember, I'm Rich Tola, and dreams do come true. But hey, what do I know?